Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the UK League Championship. Game number 2 was a pretty one-sided affair, so let's just focus straight onto game number 3, the battle for second place between Barrage and Fnatic Rising. Now, everybody coming into the season said Envision were the best team, but weren't an academy team. And
Envision
Barrage,
who? We are moving on. It's the Barrage hype train, right?
exactly.
Yes, they didn't manage to beat XL, but XL, no one's managed to beat them. And it doesn't look like that's changing at all.
But Barrage challenged XL. That
True.
dive at the beginning, their problem that we had coming out of that game was Barrage's mid game was kind of scuffed, is probably the best way to word it.
Yeah, and it felt like so early game, they matched when they had no right to.
Yeah.
Mid game, they shouldn't have matched, and they ended up paying for it. I think there was very much a scaling element to Barrage's composition they could have lent into. Instead, they kept forcing things unnecessarily, contesting dragons they didn't need to. And this can happen. When you're up against XL, when you're up against these academy rosters, you can get in your own head and keep thinking, we can't let this slip, we can't let this go away. I think hopefully Barrage have just sort of relaxed away and they can go into this game and try and slow it down and play to their win conditions. I think that's a big thing is they didn't play their win conditions. Matching in early against Excel is an achievement in and of itself. But when you're trying to fight a composition that spikes so hard in the mid game and you're not strong there, it's just going to be rough.
And so talk to me about the differences. What are the differences between Fnatic and XL? So what do Barrage need to do differently here to win this game?
So for Fnatic, it's very much about their sort of jungle support working in tandem. Often they will heavily invade your jungler and use those together. They'll potentially look to apply pressure bot. Mid's pretty self-sufficient. They can apply pressure to it, but realistically, Magifelix just does Magifelix things. For XL, it's more about leaning that pressure towards the bot lane. They'll also look top. I think there's slight differences. I think the main thing for Fnatic is they lent heavily more on scaling, especially up against XL. So you're not going to have as much of a window against them to sort of look to scale into your stronger points because they tend to have that pretty covered quite tightly. But their mid game can also be a little bit more of a vulnerability. It's like normally if they have a big lead, they'll be good to go. But you saw them up against the likes of XL where they couldn't contest them. They couldn't find any momentum. And I think a big factor is, are Fnatic Rising going to keep up with the draft they had yesterday against Envision where they allow that early pressure? That mid priority, I think, is the biggest thing. Magifelix playing on Vladimir, not very helpful to your jungler.
Yeah, true. Alrighty, well, the picks and bans have started to rattle through here a bit. At the Sejuani, the Set, the Syndra, and the Fresh all taken away. Barrage on that blue side. We're going to ban one more thing away. We look at the AD carries available. The Aphelios and the MF have been left open, but that Soroka just too much to deal with. People don't want to play into it. I am so glad we don't get to see it. I swear to God, if I see a Sona, I might cry. Hopefully we don't. Fnatic, what are they going to ban?
In this situation, you could look to deny that Aphelios away as the first pick, because I know Kevo will play it. Instead, going for the Yuumi, so potentially denying that Ezreal Yuumi we've seen had a lot of popularity. Barrage could just take the Aphelios here, or you could be happy to trade with it and prioritize something else. Looks like they're just going to take it for Kevo, who was pretty solid as a performer on that. Now, Fnatic Rising could go for a jungler specifically here for Dan. Obviously, we've seen the Sejuani taken away. Could lean more towards things like that Jarvan. But Olaf also an option for him. We have seen him pretty confident on that last year, but less so in the current patch. As for the rest of the roster, you could just trade out 80 carries, take a support here. MF makes a lot of sense. You could just wrap it up with a Jarvan here, and that's extremely threatening already towards the Aphelios.
Yeah, you've got that big wombo combo available to you. Speaking of wombo combos, they might just look to get them their hands on a support who also helps to that. They're going to lock in the Leona there for Dan. Now, if Sybil takes the Jarvan, we know Dan can't take that Sejuani because it's banned away. But maybe leaning towards something.
Yeah, I think here you go
a little bit different.
You go Jarvan support. Braum works here pretty well to keep the Aphelios alive. So you can go Jarvan Braum here. Denies the Jarvan away from Fnatic Rising because I think that up against a Aphelios is just like, it's impossible to play. And then you go the Braum, so you have something that can sort of protect against the aggression because MF, Leona, really strong duo in the bot lane. Really hard to deal with for an immobile AD carry. And a lot of lane presence and engage potential, so shoot. So yeah, Jarvan Braum, they've already picked up the Jarvan. I think Braum just rounds it out, makes a lot of sense to me. And then over to Fnatic Rising. Now, they have some options here. They can leave the jungle priority till later and prioritize a solo laner and then ban away potential counters. Definitely Magic Felix wants to pick something a little bit more scaling. You could look to do that. In terms of junglers, you could just go that Olaf for down, which you've known he likes to play quite a bit. Or you can go in the top lane. You can go for Pride. You can potentially pick up something like that Aatrox and just put that in the top lane and then ban away champions you'd have an issue with. And they are going to go in the top lane. It's not going to be the Aatrox, but they're going to go for the GP. And now they're in a position where they can start to target away top laners from this side of Barrage. They will have counter pick if they want to for Magic Felix, or they can blind something. If there are any picks they're concerned about Ericsson blinding, maybe the LeBlanc, that one could come out as a ban.
I really like this gangplank as well, though, because it helps you layer on top. You've got the Cannon Barrage, you've got Solar Flare, you've got the Bullet Time, just big AoE team fight buttons to press. And I really like this. We saw Sen have a fantastic game on it in the last game. Obviously, he was into the Kale, so a little bit less interactive, but that's going to be the Riven ban away from Flares. Don't want anything that can kind of pull in the early cheese off versus the Gangplank. Barrage now, where did they look to pinch? Most likely the jungle pool at this point. Take away things like that Gragas. Other junglers that are going to be able to kind of come in and put the pressure onto Flares. They want to give them as a free time as possible. But now, they're going to ban away that Cassiopeia.
Cassiopeia makes sense for Magic Felix. It gives you two really powerful scaling lanes, and it makes the life of the Jarvan extremely difficult. The Rumble ban, specifically because it works as a flex, is a good one, and also the Equalizer combined with the Jarvan ultimate. Just extremely effective, and it makes MS life very difficult because you try and position for a bullet time. As long as the Equalizer's up, you're always threatened on that. Now, they could ban the Gragas. I think that'd make a lot of sense in this regard if you're going to deny that one.
You have that Rise as well as a potential threat, but they take away the Vladimir.
Yeah, I guess concerned about it as a counter pick. So I've criticized the Vladimir heavily, and that's when you're taking it blind as a counter pick. It can have its merit. So I think that's a big reason they're dealing with that here. And also, I think Dan has shown a very different jungle priority to everyone else. Everyone else has pretty much been like Lee, Jarvan, Elise, a little bit of Rek'Sai, a little bit of Gragas. But Dan has shown that he will pick...
Ooh.
And this is what I mean. This is literally what I mean. This is why you don't bother banning junglers, because you just don't know what he's going to bring out at the end, and you probably just throw bans away. So clearly,
weak to invades. If lane priority does come down for Barrage and they can move into Dan's jungle, that Fiddlesticks is incredibly squishy. Obviously, you have the Terrify to kind of fear people, but
could still be mid.
Could actually still be mid as well. Also very weak to ganks.
Yeah, it's a weird one. We'll have to see how this plays out.
Oh, yes. I love Kled. I think Kled is such an exciting champion to watch when piloted well.
I think it gives a ton of engage potential as well, which is a huge avenue, because if you're running down that Misfortune and she has no position to stand and just press that bullet time, she's going to struggle. And it can also threaten the Gangplank heavily, especially you can look to dive it on the back of the dismount to reset aggro. Let's see what Ericsson picks here.
To lock in the LeBlanc, a solid blind pick there for them as well. Now, what do Fnatic have left in the tanks here for this mid lane? That Rise has been a pick that we see Magic Felix like. I wouldn't like it into the LeBlanc, though, personally. Can be a little rough.
Maybe the Fiddlesticks. I mean, it's hard to say.
True.
Dan feels like the person who'd bring that out more so in the jungle. Haven't seen Fiddlesticks jungle in a while. Obviously, for the Jarvan, it's quite hard to punish him because even if you do flag and drag, he fears you and then heals off you. After that, it looks like it's just going to be the Rise in the mid lane. So Fiddlesticks jungle, the one coming out.
I'm so glad it's not Fiddlesticks mid.
Yeah, I mean...
Imagine if Felix would just be inting if he picked Fiddlesticks mid right now. I guess, like, if LeBlanc Johnson, you can, like, fear and silence her.
Yeah, you fear silence unless the silencer's in midair. You start W and you just out-heal the damage. But yeah, I'm not super convinced by it.
Well, luckily we don't have to Furycraft about that because that's not the case.
True.
Now, talk to me a little bit about what Sybil needs to do here versus this Fiddlesticks, because obviously you hit on the fact that, yeah, if Jarvan flag and drags, you can fear him, but you can only fear them. If LeBlanc's coming as well, if Kevo and Hado are coming as well, it's really rough.
Just kill Magic Felix. That's literally all you need to do. Just kill Magic Felix. Once you kill Magic Felix and you freed Ericsson up, go wherever you want. You want to go top lane, you want to kill Pride, do it. You want to go bot lane, kill Xmati, yeah, you can do that too. I think as soon as you enable this LeBlanc to get control of mid lane, game is your oyster. As for Fnatic Rising, it'll be interesting to see if we see Bravado and Dan paired up again in tandem because they have a ton of CC to layer between themselves. But I struggle to see, because I mean, the thing with against a Jarvan, it's very hard to actually punish him unless he's already used his flag and drag combo. You fear him and he can actually buffer the flag and drag and be away with that. And then he's just going to be feared and run further. So It's hard to see. Obviously, a lot of strength in the later stages from the Fiddlesticks if you can get a big ult off. And they do have strength in the 1-3-1. So I think this is another instance where Fnatic are fine with this going a little bit longer. I don't think they're too concerned about that. And Barrage wanted to be the aggressors. And they've shown that they can do that, although sometimes in the mid-game things can go a bit topsy-turvy. But against Excel, specifically, their comp didn't favor mid-game aggression. This comp definitely does. So yes. I feel like if they find advantages in the mid-jungle and they push on that into the mid-game, they could definitely take this game.
I'm really liking what Barrage have drafted. They are going up versus an academy team. It's been a rough week for them because they had to take on XL yesterday, and while they matched them early, it crumbled in the mid-game. However, if they can find a win here versus Fnatic Rising, first of all, they put themselves in second in the league, and they've really, really put a stamp down on going, no, we are really strong.
I mean, they would have killed an academy team. That is the main goal, to be the academy killers, is you actually beat an academy team. That's sort of it's in the name, is all I can really say. We're having some technical issues as we load in, so hopefully that'll be sorted out soon. But
all right, that gives us time. Where would you go in time? I asked him in the last game, if you could go back in time, you can't affect anything in the future, what would you do? What would you go and see?
Probably like seeing a great battle would be pretty cool. Assuming that I wouldn't be involved.
We'd go watch loads of people get killed.
I mean, it's interesting from a historical point of view. You can also compare like the stories, like, you know, maybe some of the battles of Troy, or, you know, the one that 300's based off.
Yes.
Like seeing how historically accurate Jack Snyder's film was.
Yeah.
You know, when they have like the weird goat
Have they
people?
all got massive abs?
You know, when they have the weird goat people, I'm like, oh wow, so that was actually accurate.
Yeah, no, there were goat people back then.
Yeah, that's.
I'm like, I'd probably go to like that pirate island to go see what the pirates were doing and stuff. That was pretty cool. Have you ever watched Black Sails?
No.
Oh, it's a really good show, actually.
Yeah, I'd go to Netherlands, actually. Yeah.
No, there actually was a pirate island.
Oh yeah, okay.
The pirates basically ran. They didn't read. It was weird because basically the governor, who was assigned by the British Empire, basically just took like under the table payments from the pirates, and the pirates basically used it as like their harbor.
A government official took under the table payments?
Never. Good job that only happened in the past, right?
Good time this is only make-believe. Good thing this is only make-believe. Otherwise, that could be a little bit concerning. But we do get into game. So we do see Electrocute coming out from Dan on the Fiddlesticks. A little bit of an invade coming in here just to get some vision control. And last time Fnatic went up against XL, Dan got invaded pretty heavily. And there was some pretty effective warding to try and stop that, but it wasn't actually able to deny Taxa from pushing into the enemy jungle. So we'll see if they're able to do so here.
All right, well, they're actually bringing a couple of members over because they're actually really, really scared of that invade. Magic Felix and Pride move over to make sure that Dan's red buff isn't getting invaded. A pink goes down by Magic Felix, by Dan, to make sure that...
That's a power Fiddlesticks. You buy a pink, a control ward. You don't need as many potions as you sustain. That is literally why you pick Fiddlesticks. Dan's just 100.
That's the whole reason for one control ward.
200 IQ. Actually, I remember there was this, I think it was a Korean Fiddlesticks, who like it was back when you could buy stealth wards, and he didn't buy any items. He just bought like 26 stealth wards in a game, and he won, but he was just like spending every bit of gold he got on stealth wards. Just a complete macro gameplay genius.
There's a nice thing about the Fiddlesticks, you can just bounce crows between, drain to heal, keep yourself going. Nice and topped up. Dan just won't take any damage on this clear. Meanwhile, Flares versus Pride. Talk to me about this top lane. How does this go? Because it's been a while since we've actually seen the Kled. What do we expect from this lane? Or is it more just about the charge later on?
So it's landing, I mean, it's in this situation, landing the bear trap on him. You can yank Gangplank in and just deal a ton of damage to him. Pride can handle himself. If you're dodging away from those bear traps and you have barrels set up, you can actually deal with the Kled, but it is a little bit of a rough matchup, I'd say, and you can be dived on the back of the dismount. So, I mean, like, I feel like it's
going for a flank here.
Yeah,
I thought he was invading, but actually, Barrage have really pushed up in this bot lane. They do not expect the surprise Fiddlesticks. Obviously, he has no R, but Bravado just acting incredibly well here, looking for that solar flare. Sorry, looking for that Zenith Blade. Does quite find it. Kevo tries to get the movement speed up. They're going to try and turn it back around onto Dan, but he gets feared, drained, and taken down. First blood to xMatty.
Just good pathing coming out from Dan. They didn't expect that route, but now they're looking for a dive top lane.
Yeah, it's really hard to make this happen. Flares is going to flash away. The tower shot will not kill him, and there's an answer back by Barrage in the top lane.
A little bit rough there. Flares taking aggro before he even dismounts. But ultimately, he's still able to get away from this one. And they get the kill. So this is good from Barrage, looking to punish the gangplank. You can do that on the back of the Kled. Ultimately, Kevo did go down the bot lane. Fortunately, though, the wave was in a really good spot. It was shoved in, and it's just going to bounce towards them. So not too much actually missed out on by Kevo. And obviously, Pride TP'd in top. So things kept relatively even. These teams just trading blow for blow on opposite sides of the map.
This is what we saw from Barrage in the early game versus XL. Every step XL took, Barrage matched them. They're looking to do that here versus Fnatic. However, the problem was the late game, was the mid game. Can they keep up that matching, or are they going to make silly mistakes?
Well, I think the difference here is that Barrage should be the aggressors in the middle lane, in the mid game.
They're actually jumping on here. Bravado could get stunned up by the concussive blows. Kevo actually cancels out the auto attack, and Bravado does get away scot-free. Hado takes a pretty unhealthy trade. xMatty a little low on mana. Hasn't been a base since he got that first blood, though, so he's got a fair amount of gold. It looks like they're looking for something, but Fnatic smell a rat.
Yeah, they
See Sybil on the ward, and they just back off.
He swoops it out, so they won't find anything here. Obviously, there was really creative pathing from Dan to avoid any wards, but Sybil just goes for the walkthrough. Just clear that ward out, though, and xMatty and Bravado will recall, respecting that, and the BF sword comes in for the misfortune. Kevo is going to be a little bit later on this one. So this is actually an opportunity for Fnatic to get Dragon in this situation. So the reason being, well, I mean, one thing is that Ericsson's freezing mid, so he's not got the wave pushed up. But critically, you can see that Kevo wants to stay bot lane to get the money for a BF sword. So he's still there now, but he's going to have to reset to match the power of Maddie. So if you look at these timings, Dan and Bravado are already walking in towards the river. So if they find anyone to contest them like Sybil, they'll force them out. And this sets up Dan essentially to solo that dragon, which you can do with all the sustain he has. They have MagiFelix moving down as well because Ericsson was freezing and he had TP. Very easy to set that one up. Looks like they aren't actually going to go for the dragon right now, but that would have been definitely a scenario where they could have set up to look for it. They definitely have the control to do so in the future at least.
Late will fall, and Flares is the one to pick that up. Remember, Pride doesn't have his teleport available. Flares does. So maybe Fnatic worried about a potential flank coming out from Flares on this Kled. So they decide not to start at the dragon, but now he's going to teleport to the lane. So that actually will give an opportunity to Fnatic, where Pride will have his teleport before Flares does, and he will have his ultimate. And Flares actually putting some damage into Pride. Pride heals up with the orange, but the grievous wounds coming down from the bear trap is big, and Pride has that flash, and he's looking to charge him down. Pride is getting jumped onto by the charge. It's an easy kill, and Flares takes out Pride yet again.
Pride getting punished hard in this matchup, not able to hold up, especially after that early dive.
Ericsson trading pretty effectively there with MagiFelix.
Yeah, could trade into him. Ultimately, yeah, I think that was a big point why Fnatic didn't opt to go for that dragon, was the TP threat from Flares. It is now down, but he manages to get a kill onto Pride, and he's looking pretty strong. He's got the Tiamat, he's got the wave clear, the wave control, and he's also starting to get plates on these towers. So we're looking to steal this buff away. Does actually get it even without smite, but Dan didn't have his either. There's 2 plates down now in the top lane. Barrage looking pretty solid so far.
Yeah, Flares could be a real thorn in Fnatic's side here on this Kled. 20 CS lead, 1-0-1, while Dan 0-2. Flares sniffing around, seeing if he can find Dan. Obviously, when that Crow Storm becomes available, you could have some really creative ganks for Fnatic.
And I think for the most part, they're just making the entire red side jungle really difficult for Dan to move through and provide any assistance to Pride right now. Reset does come in. Kindle Gem picked up the Flares, even bulkier, and that extra CDR to play with. Right now, Barrage up in gold slightly, looking solid so far. Unfortunately, his Kevo didn't actually end up going for the reset when we were talking about. And obviously, they didn't need to because there was no contest coming on the dragon, but he waited quite a bit of time longer. He's now gone for his reset. Dragon's still up, but Herald is spawning. So Barrage, I feel you want to head towards the top side, which you can see they are pathing towards mid and look for that Herald. Fnatic, they're just heading to the bot side.
Flares is just jumping on here. He doesn't have that charge, but he doesn't need it. Pride taking so much damage. Flares just cutting through him like he's nothing on this Kled.
Yeah, he's really manhandling him in this matchup. And coming into the split, Pride was one of the question marks for us on this roster, just because everyone else has proven themselves quite convincingly. Not as much history on Pride, especially compared to the former top laners of Fnatic. And right now in this matchup, he's struggling. So Fnatic gonna start up this Dragon here. You can see Barrage went for the Herald. They want to keep the pace going pretty fast. Fnatic, they want time to scale. So their decision was to go for the Dragon, which should buy them more time. But this is great Herald
solo
usage.
gold for Kevo as well. They're making sure he gets first turret blood, all these plates to himself. And Kevo, very, very strong now.
Yeah, love to see it. Perfect Herald usage to get the last few plates, which are tankier. And that's solo gold. So the reason this Dragon take is what you should do as a scaling team and why it's important for Fnatic is it basically delays the Dragon Soul for Barrage by quite a significant period. 8, almost 9 minutes is actually quite a late Herald.
Let's actually go 1 versus 2. The Realm Wall's being used. The ultimate's being channeled. The Crow Storm. 4-man dive on the flares, but in comes Sybil. Silence is thrown on the flares into the bullet time, but it's not enough to find a kill. Fnatic somehow lose the 2 versus 4. The Cataclysm.
The red buff
2 flash. The red buff is burning a Magic Felix. Chugging away on a potion. Now Ericsson has himself the double restore. Will ping forward and take down Magic Felix. Fnatic getting absolutely punished incredibly hard. And Bravado, he's going to get killed. A double kill for Ericsson. Barrage.
Oh, pause coming in, but ultimately a huge play coming out of Barrage right there. Looks like the pause is due to mic issues from Barrage in that situation, but didn't feel like there were mic issues in that play. Really good setup. And Flair's so hard to dive on the Kled because of the dismount, because of how bulky he is this early in the game. He puts back a lot of damage thanks to Tower's help, and then Sybil, yes, he goes down, but that Cataclysm in the end, really pivotal. Bunch of flashes come out, and then the roam from Ericsson.
I'm just having a little look at what that has now got. Ericsson is sitting on 1,700 gold. He has a 600 gold lead over Magic Felix. You've got the top lane, 3,800 gold to 2,700 gold, an 1,100 lead, 2 flares. He's looking so strong here. Now, what is interesting is X-Maddie is further ahead of Kevo. Obviously, a massive CS discrepancy, and X-Maddie has a double kill on his back. So Kevo, even though he got that plate, it actually means that... Sorry, Kevo got the tower and the plates for first turret blood. Does still mean it's only keeping him somewhat relevant. He's still behind X-Maddie.
Yeah, but you should be able to pick up some plates here and help close the gap. So Fnatic, they got the Dragon. Obviously great for a team who are trying to scale up to the later stages, but they lost a lot of gold in that situation. Barrage got out that play without a hitch in the top side. 2 plates here for Kevo in his pocket to equalize that gold. And if you look at the bot lane tower, Fnatic only got 1 plate there. They were too set on getting the kills instead of trying to get the plates. And ultimately, it ends up backfiring massively. Barrage really far ahead. Now, Fnatic still in this game. They do scale extremely well on the back of their rise, their gangplank, and Misfortune. Definitely a solid pick too. But right now, Barrage, exactly where they need to be.
Absolutely. So, looks like for now, Ericsson's just catching this wave here versus Magic Felix. He's been to base since that double kill, got himself that lost chapter. A lot of extra mana to work with, and just going to catch up with this wave, try and keep himself relevant in the CS department. Sybil's taking away the Scuttle Crab. So he's picked that up for his team, and now this vision is shifting towards the bottom side of the map where they've put Kevo. Top side is almost just so open that there's nothing there for Barrage, so they don't really want to prioritize that part of the map. They want to make sure that Kevo is as comfortable as possible. But Dan, sniffing around here, has hidden the Crow Storm available, so he might look to try and come over the wall.
Let's have flash as well. Let's
He's
come in.
handling it. They've got the slow. They've got the solar flare. The wombo combo's out. Kevo's flashed away already. Throws down the ultimate with the Moonlight Vigil. Not enough to get too much off there. That's an easy kill. Meanwhile, mid lane Ericsson is on a killing spree. He takes down Magic Felix. And there should just be more plates over to the side of Barrage.
And the critical difference is Fnatic have no wave bot lane. They ult in with the Fiddlesticks. And yes, they get the kill, but X-Maddie's still pushing in. and only now is the wave coming into tower. This is way too late, and as a result, they get nothing for that kill. But the difference is mid, they push the wave into dive, they kill MagiFelix, and they take so many plates off the mid lane tower. I think it might be an overstay to try and get this one. It gets very tanky on the last plates, but they get so many plates down. That's a ton of gold. And once again, Barrage extending that lead. And that is a difference when you have the setup, the wave priority before going for the play. Dan gets a kill off his ultimate, but nothing else from it. Now Flair's looking for Pride. He does have TP.
Doesn't have charge, but he's looking to see if he can find something. Ericsson's backing him up. Already trying to chase in. Has that bear trap on a rope, and he will find it connecting into Pride. Pride gets jumped onto, and Ericsson 4-0 on the LeBlanc. Barrage just looking insanely good in this mid game.
Yeah, I think the only way I saw Pride getting out there was if the bear trap missed and he instantly started channeling TP, and even then, it wasn't good. You can easily get chased down by a Kled and a LeBlanc when you have no tower. Pride overextended, gets caught out, and another kill onto this LeBlanc who's already extremely strong. And this mid game is essentially Ericsson's to take over. He can just pop anyone he wants anytime. There are no tanks on the side of Fnatic apart from this Leona. And at level 6 compared to Ericsson's level 10, he doesn't feel very tanky right now.
13 minutes on the clock, a 3,100 gold lead over to Barrage. Luden's Echo finished up onto Ericsson. He's got those magic resist boots as well, keeps him somewhat safer versus MagiFelix at the moment. MagiFelix still stacking up his rower, his tier. He's sitting on components, his core components, but hasn't got his core items yet. Kevo quite comfortable now in this bot lane. Has got his Essence Reaver, got the Graviton at the moment. Can't see what his other gun is right at this moment. Dan looking to see if he can make some kind of a big wombo combo gank happen again. Bravado has Solar Flare. Everybody for Fnatic is towards this bot side of the map, but Flares has teleport this time. So if they do try something, Flares could always show up. Sybil also waiting in the wings.
They don't have any deep wards is one thing, but obviously the ult can come in to help them out. Dan is waiting and wants to know that he hasn't been seen, so just throw down the sweeper, but warning ping's coming in. You can see this pressure being applied mid lane. MagiFelix cautious to step up, and now Dragon also available. If Fnatic can secure this one, again, it's delaying the soul. But I feel like Barrage, you're so far ahead now, you really shouldn't allow them to take this one.
Yeah, they want to get their hands onto this one. Sybil zoning away. MagiFelix actually jumps in, gets the double chains off. In comes the charge, using the cannon barrage for a little bit of damage, but Ericsson gets himself the kill. Actually, it's Flares to pick it up, and Dan X-Matty has to flash the wall. Now they're chasing onto more. Dan's running away. The flag to drag, the Cataclysm. Dan's flashless. The Flares is able to get the bear trap on a rope off, but Bravado has to flash the wall, and Fnatic are crumbling at the seams to Barrage right now.
Yeah, Fiddlesticks not looking so good right now. You're trying to find those angles to ult in from, but Barrage is just hunting you down. Ericsson, a monster right now on the LeBlanc, finding the kill on a MagiFelix.
Same for
and
Flares.
the mid tower. These solo laners for Barrage are doing so much work.
This will be the Ocean Drake picked up for Barrage as well, setting us up for either a cloud or for a mountain map. Cloud map with a Kled is pretty filthy.
Yeah, Cloud Soul as well.
Yeah,
when you
Cloud
pop that
Soul
ult.
for Kled is actually disgusting, and it is a Cloud Dragon, so to be fair, there's a lot of teams who actually use this Cloud really well, because if Dan gets the Cloud and starts running around with the ulti on, he's so hard to pin down.
Kevo's just going to take this tower pretty easily. No contest, and he has to Chrysanthemum do so. Now, the one disadvantage to this, because Barrage spent a lot of time bot side with Kevo and also picked up that Dragon, it does mean Fnatic are in position here on the top side of the map. They're pressuring that top tower. They have control of the Herald area, but they're still 5,000 gold down. So despite all this, it's very easy for Barrage to strong arm their way in, but Fnatic finding little advantages in terms of pressure. They did put down the vision.
Yeah, Ericsson's moving forward with the sweeper to clear out some vision for his team.
It's been swept, and you can see the recalls from X-Matty and Bravado. They took the tower, but they're instantly backing away. They don't want to take this fight over this Herald. Fnatic have gone into sort of turtle mode here. They are looking to, if there's an advantage, they can sneak away, sure. But I think they know right now they cannot contest Barrage. They need more items on their carries. MagiFelix sitting on a tier and a 2-stack Rod of Ages, not really relevant right now. And X-Matty, although he's pretty strong in terms of items, you want to wait for those sort of 2-3 item points where he's doing a ton of damage with his ultimate and the rest of his team is strong to catch up with him. For now, Ericsson and Flares are just too problematic for the Misfortune to ever deal with in these mid-game team fights.
All right, 16 minutes on the clock. It's a 5,000 gold lead to Barrage. You can see the vision's been placed down by Fnatic around that Rift Herald, but you got to feel that Barrage are eyeing it up, looking to start to crack these tier 2 turrets. Dan's on the other side of the map, and now the vision's starting to get cleared out a little bit here by Barrage. They're moving over, and Sybil has already started this objective up.
I like the respect coming out from Barrage. They're not overstepping in any regard. They know that if they do make a foot wrong, Fnatic have an avenue back into the game, but they're still establishing their aggression, looking to control and challenge the enemy team.
I think the key thing is they're not falling into the same things they were doing yesterday versus XL. They weren't taking silly fights, forced engages, and giving too much up. They're respecting what Fnatic's team's capable of doing, but also playing to their strengths of their composition, right?
I think that's the key difference, is you give Barrage a team, a composition they can be aggressive with, and they will be aggressive. You give a composition where, you know, they're going to have to wait till later in the game, it doesn't really suit them. Barrage are a team who want to have these go buttons, the Cataclysm, the Kleddle. They want to be able to keep that aggression from the early. I think that's what felt so jarring for them in the XL game, is that they were ahead. They were doing well in the early game, and then the correct decision would have been to slow down. In this game, they do well in the early game, and the correct decision is absolutely to keep that speed up, and they're doing great at it.
Yeah, coming in. Channeled here by Dan. They get the solar flare, the bullet time, the wombo combo. A lot of time getting brought up here. Kevo throws down the ultimate. Magic Felix pretty low, burning down. Sybil looking to chase over, flashes over the wall, gets a Cataclysm on her X-Maddie. It's a double kill for Kevo already, and then you can see Flares is just jumping backwards and forwards, gets the charge in. They flash onto Pride. Pride is running to the wind. He's the only one standing. Sybil looks to go down. It's actually a shutdown picked up by Pride, but the turret will crumble in the meantime. Fnatic rising, getting stomped right about now.
They looked for the fight, but it was a great stopwatch from Hado, and then the rest of the team filtered in and just shut them down.
Ericsson? Oh.
That was close. Magic Felix, you see him realm warp in and turn up on 1 HP. I think Ericsson definitely hit him before he managed to pick that one up, and ultimately Fnatic, they try and make a play happen. They see an opportunity and they just get rolled. And critically, X-Maddie, one of the ones who's looking strong, got shut down in that fight as well, unable to do anything.
If you told me the Fnatic Barrage game would come down to a 6k gold lead at 19 minutes, I would have assumed it was Fnatic with that lead.
This is a different Fnatic though, a Fnatic who have typically leaned more towards the scaling elements in the current meta. And when you have fast-paced teams like XL and Barrage, this is where they can really beat them out. Have a strong early game, keep transitioning that into the later stages. As of yet, Fnatic haven't really managed to make their scaling components work effectively, and it's the teams who have had agency up against them who have done so well.
Absolutely right. Drake spawning up relatively shortly. Hado and Ericsson moving through as a two-man unit to get these wards down and complete dominance of this part of the map. Bravado will spot out a couple of these wards for himself to clear up. Kevo now got that Hurricane and the Essence Reaver. X-Maddie has got the Infinity Edge and the Essence Reaver to himself. So he has a fair amount of damage he's able to pack in. The one thing that Fnatic will have, and Barrage have to respect, is a wombo combo. If they get grouped up, if the Solar Flare, if the Crow Storm, if the Bullet Time comes on, doesn't matter how far ahead you are going to lose members there.
Yeah, mostly, but then again, it depends who you catch with it, because very difficult to burn through Flares, Sybil, or Hado. Ericsson should never really get caught up in that because he's a LeBlanc. And the only remaining option is Kevo. If you catch Kevo on that, then that's a misplay from Kevo. And that's my only concern, is Barrage are rushing at you. It's very hard to find an engage that is going to be able to punish them, because by the time Dan's channeled his Crow Storm, they're probably 2 screens away chasing your MF down underneath your second tower. That's the issue, is that it's just a little bit too sluggish, too slow pace to keep up with the speed at which Barrage is engaging. And now have that Cloud Drake in the pocket, 2 away from the Soul. You can see Dan potentially looking for an ult here. Does have flash as well for Kevo, but the cleanse is available for him.
Yeah, channeling it up here for the moment. They're looking to throw everything down. That's that misstep you were saying. Kevo gets caught out and Fnatic get the shutdown.
And look at mid lane. Hado just walking up. That's what you need to wait for. You need Hado to be there to help you out, so they can only fear one target.
Rift Herald's been thrown down in the top side. I feel like it was about to time out, and now Fnatic rotating multiple members up. Sybil could be careful here. Zenith Blade connects. Solar Flare comes down. Hado looks to try and see if he can do something as the Cannon Barrage gets thrown down. The Blast Code may have just inted Hado, who had to flash over the wall away. Ericsson looks to shove the wave in so he can get it, but the Realm Wall's been thrown down in the meantime. Hado is getting cut through. Stoneplate will only buy time and not save his life, but Xmatty, he's running down. He's a juicy shutdown for Ericsson and gets him with the Sigil of Malice. Meanwhile, the turret is also being pushed in. Barrage, they may have lost something there, but they are now pushing up in this top side. Flares is still a threat as well. He has that charge. Dan has no ultimate or flash.
Wait, the turret's gone down. No one's there.
They're taking the turret. It's 22 minutes in, and Barrage are just melting through Fnatic's base right now. Sybil has that Cataclysm. He might look for it if he can find members grouped up. The Zenith Blade goes out, and Ericsson pings back. Throws out the Sigil. That chunks Dan. Meanwhile, Kevo and Flares, they're just quite happy to push onto this mid lane tier 3 and take half of its health. Barrage are playing flawlessly right now.
Not flawlessly, but really good. I mean,
bloody close to flawlessly.
There were a lot of mistakes there, I will say. Kevo got caught out, as did Sybil. He gets away, but he essentially suicides Hado for it. But Ericsson and Flares. Flares feels untouchable at this point. Ericsson consistently applying this pressure with the Herald. They have actually started up the Dragon here.
Ericsson looking to see if he can burst someone out. Xmatty has been spotted out. Sigil comes in. Xmatty's chunked out. The charge is coming down, and Dan gets connected. Flares flashes forward. Kevo free firing through everyone as Fnatic's health bars are melting to Barrage right now. Pride gets jumped onto, pinned into. The Moonlight Vigil is huge, and Barrage are running through members of Fnatic. It is a turnaround from Magic Felix to find himself a double kill, but Barrage, they're ignoring Bravado. They've got the minions to work with. It's only 23 minutes and the death time is relatively short, but they're looking to end the game. Bravado's catching the minions, trying to buy time for the team, but you've got a Kled. He can tank this tower for your minions. Cannon is still alive. Flares is onto it, and Fnatic don't have the time, don't have the members available to them. The turret's gone down. The Nexus is exposed. Fnatic are back onto the map. They're trying to see if they can get the shutdowns. A big bullet time will secure 2 kills for Fnatic. Kevo is shut down, and Barrage almost win the game, but they are taken out by Fnatic. It was so close.
But look what is next to the Nexus. There's a ward. And Flares' TP is coming up soon. They clear it out. Pride. Literally, I'm looking in chat. The Kled teleport is being pinged in chat by Barrage. That ward had stayed. They could have just ended the game, but ultimately Fnatic get the shutdowns and they're now looking towards this Baron. This is their potential opportunity to get back in the game.
Sybil's just running to the base. He's actually just bolting towards the base. Remember, it's a cloud map, so he's relatively quick. He will get spotted out on this ward here. So Fnatic, they're going to be able to get this Baron in time, and I don't think Sybil can end the game, but he is going for the backdoor here. He's stopping the bases. And Barrage Felix has to flash over the wall. Sybil gets a Cannon Barrage onto him. He's trying to get it out. The charge is coming in, and Fnatic, they can't do anything. Barrage take down the Academy team. LEC sister team means nothing to Barrage.
And one ending, just the coordination, the TP, the flag coming in, the Kled running in, and Barrage. They've shown that they are so competent in the early game. When they can transition that into a strong mid game, it feels like there's no stopping them. I mean, XL were always the early game kings of the UK, and they held even with them. I think if Barrage keep up this aggression, translated to the mid game, they can really be the dominant force in the UK. And Fnatic, it felt like there were a lot of issues there. The Fiddlesticks pick never really came together. Pride looked weak in the top lane. Magi Felix getting challenged on a scaling pick.
Yeah.
I think this Fnatic roster is not necessarily the players, but just how they are playing is a long cry from their success last year. And Barrage are looking on fire.
Barrage, it's flipped, man. Barrage are looking so good. They come out of probably the roughest summer. One of the roughest splits I think that organization has ever had. They were technically knocked out in relegation by their sister team. And they come back and they fire into the season. I'm lost for words. Barrage just played such a great game of League of Legends. It was such a fun game to watch as well. Ending with a backdoor, 24 minutes on the clock. And Fnatic, there were moments where it was like, oh, this could be scary, but it just wasn't enough. They just couldn't deal with the LeBlanc from Ericsson. They couldn't deal with Flares' Kled. And Sybil, he was playing really well around his solo lanes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he set them up for success. The dive on the gangplank was good. And the big part was they were constantly being aggressive. Whenever they made a play, they had a wave in place to capitalize on. Fnatic, they went for some counter plays, but they really achieved nothing. It was a kill here, a kill there. The kill score's pretty close. It's 18-13. Obviously, a ton were padded on when they went for that last-ditch effort. But ultimately, it was just every single time the plays were set up by Barrage, they had something to take. They had objectives to punish. Even when Fnatic turned it around, we saw they went for that engage in their own jungle when they thought they'd found Hado, and they were losing their top lane, not just the tower, but the inhibitor as well. And I think Barrage really showing, they put in a masterclass of just aggression. Their composition, they played exactly to the win conditions. I think Sybil's looked extremely good in the jungle. There were concerns coming into the split because sometimes he can be a bit feast or famine, but he's just been feast all the time. Ericsson is not just holding up to Magifelix, but actually outperforming him.
And solo killed him.
Exactly. And you can make the argument, sure, he got help from his team to facilitate that. But that doesn't mean much because that happens in competitive.
That's how League of Legends works. It's a team game.
The fact he runs away with a lead, and this is a roster where these are players, Dan, Magifelix, and Maddie, are players who went to top 4 in EU Masters, who won the UK scene convincingly. And here they are just getting destroyed.
They are. It was just, honestly, Barrage just played a fantastic game of League of Legends. It was so fun to watch, and that means that Barrage are the second best team here in the UK so far.
And Academy team killers.
And the Academy team killers as well, which we all thought was Envision. Barrage said, no, that is our title, and we are looking to try and see if they can take down XL now, because, man, XL beat them pretty whole-handedly yesterday, but this Barrage looks so much cleaner than the Barrage we saw yesterday.
I think draft to your strengths. I think Barrage with the composition where they start early and they keep going forwards and building on that is exactly what you need. The Sona is getting nerfed on 10.4, as is the Soraka. These are not champions that I attribute to how Barrage are playing. They want things with agency. They want to get a lead and they want to run away with it, as they showed here. And I think we saw the early game against XL yesterday was good. I think this team could really be a force to be reckoned with as we get late in the split. And in that second round robin, I am so excited for them to face up against XL once more.
I'm so excited, but we still have one more game here at the UKLC. It's another 2 teams for the title. After the break, we got M&M taking on Envision. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you for game 4.